lot of people think it's an art, and somewhat it is an art, but it's an art that has violated the rights of owners.
Turn it into like a euphemism, something not so negative. I understand that, I don't want anybody, defacing my property or vandalizing my property. I know vandalism is wrong, but the people that do put the time in and the focus on the artistry of it and the community of it, me, hanging out, with a friend, and we feed off each other's creativity, and like the community aspect of it is definitely downplayed.
My name is Christian Dry, and myself, I'm art. To me, art is an acronym for a real thing. So, when I look at myself in the mirror, I know what I am capable of, I know what I bring to the table, and the most important thing about my whole brand and about my whole existence is I'm real.
I'm Trey. I am unfortunately a dropout artist, but I still pursue it, I would say. I serve at a restaurant, so that's what I do on my free time. I do artwork, so I feel like I'm still in the loop with it.
My name is Jeremey Griffin. I am 23 years old, and I've been living in Cincinnati all my life. I'm a UC student. I attend CCM, electronic media, and I paint graffiti. All right, so what does graffiti do for me? Graffiti, painting or drawing, sketching, it allows me to express myself in a way that other forms wouldn't necessarily allow me to.
Just seeing it everywhere, man. Everywhere in Cincinnati has a good little piece. At that end, usually when I'm at work, like I'll get off and I'll go and get food or something, and on the way back I get stopped by the train. So I'm always seeing somebody's stuff on there. It's always something new on the train. So it found me by it always being around me. How can you not fix something?
It's something that finds you. And I really can't explain how that happens. Some people have it and some people don't. Everything different. I always looked at the details and stuff, the way colors blend and in fashion, color blocks and typography. It's just, everything was, I put my own spin on everything.
Okay, I'm Marvin Davis. I'm a licensed barber. I also do artwork in different various forms. Well, I've worked in this community for about 7 years now, and when my first experience here, I thought it was very collective of different urban cultures and just different ethnic backgrounds, but the longer I've came, I've seen that it was a little more separated. But now that it's starting to get a little bit gentrified, they're bringing the communities together in a weird way, but it's working. As far as new artwork being produced in this neighborhood, I have seen it. It's happening often around here. Just certain nooks and crannies, you have to go to certain spots to find them. They're not always in the public eye. Sometimes you may notice it above high rises or right in your face and you wouldn't even notice it, but yeah, it's different various artists beginning to look at it. Well, graffiti, I would think the main definition of graffiti in my head would be just tagging on a wall with spray cans. So there are two different forms of that. It's an art form, and there's also like a gang violence form or insinuating I don't care about your personal feelings, but there's also another perspective to help you feel good. So yes, I noticed the difference. It's almost a dying art. Not too many people know how to do good graffiti. They want to do more of a visual art, just something like more symbols, but it's a dying art. So it's here and there, so I think it's like a gem, a hidden treasure. If you see it, you're lucky.
I'm Professor Flavia Bastos, and I've worked at the University of Cincinnati in the College of Design, Art, Architecture, and Planning for almost 20 years. My area is art education. I teach in the School of Art, and my work has focused on the interface between community art practices and education, and most recently I've been researching creativity and the creative process. In Northside, where I used to live, there is an artwork by a team of Brazilian graffiti artists who go by the name Os Gêmeos, which in Portuguese means the twins. And they started out doing graffiti in the outskirts of São Paulo.
I always noticed the big artwork over there just stood out, just the shapes, the spacing, and the colors, and it seemed like they were never interrupted. So a couple of times I had the privilege to see them actually working. So I would get out the car and ask, because I'm an artist myself, so to just see where they're coming from. And they would just basically say they were commissioned by the business owner to spray paint on the side of their building. They always got its permission. They always just had like a good perspective of things. They never really told us what the graffiti meant, what the message was, but they would represent their name and where they came from.
Well, I think graffiti is not a simple art form to understand because it's sort of a resistance type of art form. So it's at the fringes of, in a way, it's at the fringes of society.
Graffiti can be misunderstood only if you look at it in the form of vandalism. And that goes to the two different types of graffiti, where there's nice artwork, nice colors, nice shapes, maybe some noticeable symbols, opposed to just seeing a couple of letters with some symbols just not done in total placement. It can be disproportionate, it can be in the middle of a glass, so it can have a negative connotation.
I think that it largely has to do with not really understanding the purpose, the intention behind why it is. It's not so much what it is, it's more importantly, it has to do with where it is exactly.
Definitely feel like graffiti is misunderstood, only because they think it's vandalism. But it's like, there's no other way to express yourself sometimes other than putting it on the wall.
Everything that's not understood by the general public is simply misunderstood. A personal opinion, it's a beautiful art. So I want everybody to be able to experience like this beauty, but since it's looked at as a criminal act of vandalism, it's misunderstood.
I don't think that is a way to really resolve it. If graffiti is understood as vandalism, then the cops or law enforcement are going to crack down on the people who vandalize public buildings. Buildings that were vacant, that were just covered, the windows were covered with plywood, that were somehow allowed to sit vacant in the middle of the city. And I think when graffiti artists take hold of spaces like that, usually they are commenting on the fact that that is some kind of a socio-economic, political structure that allows for those spaces to exist at the heart of the city.
I mean, in order for us to have progress in graffiti where it isn't a crime would require the people that make it a crime. So, I mean, that all goes back to you. If you want us to do it freely, you gotta give us an area that we're able to do it. And they do, I mean, but there isn't that many.
Too much of a good thing is always a bad thing. And even if it was accepted, somebody's gonna go too far and spray somebody's building, somebody's window, then it's gonna be, vandalism again. So, no, it's not gonna be accepted. I think the law about it is a good protection for people's property, but we do deserve areas where, it should be like, free for all.
A little bit about Elements. It was 2011 when I was at skate park and a friend of mine, Khalil Jackson, he talked to me and said, hey, you should come down to a place called Elements. That's when I started getting into graffiti. They did provide a space. They had a graffiti board and they had a wall in the back.
I had a friend who was a graffiti artist in São Paulo, and I took a group of students to São Paulo and we connected with him. And he taught graffiti in a community art center, a space outside the community center that was an empty, vacant building where we could go and spray. Kind of fascinating. I felt like a superhero with just extended powers, because you hold this can in your hand and it sort of extends your arm and you make these marks in a completely different way.
What I think an outcome from this video would be, if it lands in the right hands of the right people, it can continue to help educate, maybe even pinpoint more attention on graffiti from people who really never recognized it from being vandalism or artwork. So if they see this now, they can maybe just socialize with other people who have different perspectives on graffiti and get same questions from you. So I think it'd be cool to just help push the culture forward.
I feel if anything, what's coming out of this is us showing you that we don't mean any harm at all by spraying, and that it's legit us expressing ourselves. So maybe the rules and regulations on graffiti becomes a bit less harsh, and they can actually give us a bit more room to spray.
What I hope people will get out of viewing this documentary is a deeper understanding of why graffiti artists paint. To give them a understanding of exactly the intention behind what it is that they're doing, and know that it's not all vandalism, or it's not a good thing to categorize them all as vandals.
Maybe it'll inspire other artists to showcase their work in a documentary or DVD form, or just give them the courage. It takes a lot of courage to put together and compile type of information, because it's something that people don't respect. So trying to change someone's opinion on something is difficult, especially when it's a difficult topic.
So I think what a film like this can do is really help viewers and the public understand all the issues, many of which are social, economic, and political issues that come into play when we try to appreciate and understand graffiti.